Hey guys, so it's refreshing season for Kia, and they have just revealed the Kia K8. It hasn't been sold in the US ever. We had the Cadenza, which was discontinued in 2020, right? So we don't expect to see it in the US at all. But I want to use the K8's design as a way to talk about a more broad subject in terms of Kia, which is where is Kia's design going these days? Like I said, it's refresh season and Kia is redesigning all their vehicles slightly, to keep it updated. But in my opinion, some of these vehicles are really disappointing in their refreshed form. I mean, really disappointing aesthetically. These models they're releasing were kind of the vehicles that came out during Kia's redemption arc. If any of you remember, I feel like this was a very iconic era for Kia because it was when they finally kind of brought some positivity back to their brand because there was a lot of negativity and a lot of hate towards Kia, and they came out with all these beautifully designed, aggressive, value-packed, just amazing vehicles in that time. The Sportage, the K5, the Cadenza, not the Cadenza, the Carnival, and numerous other cars that were changing the game in terms of mainstream vehicles. And now it's time to refresh those vehicles. I mean, Kia was literally the tech leader in the mainstream segment, and the way they went about redefining their brand image was something I've never seen before in a brand. It was honestly extraordinary. If you can't tell, I really do love Kia, and that's what makes it hard for me with some of these redesigns and some of these refreshes. It's just, no, it's not giving to me. What's wrong with the new designs? So let's take a look at the K8. The design is still good. It looks elegant, but when we take a look at the pre-refresh model, it just looks way better in my opinion. The front end looks intricate and complete, while the new model looks like they just slapped the EV9 front on top of it. And this isn't the only vehicle to be guilty of this. The K5, the Sorento, and the Cadenza are good examples of this. They've just taken those very refined designs that their designers visioned in their heads and made them look like a EV9, in my opinion. Like, just slap that front end right on there. And in my opinion, Kia when Kia does these drastic design changes like they do when they're refreshing their vehicles, what it's actually doing, even though it is keeping these vehicles refreshed and it's keeping them up to date, what it's actually doing is it's taking away from what the original design was and how cohesive it was. It's taking away from what the designers, when they drew this vehicle, what they had in their head and what the actual vision for the vehicle was. Now it's just, it doesn't feel as authentic. It doesn't feel as special. I mean, these drastic changes that they're doing to these vehicles are just not needed. When you take a look at the concept drawings for some of the vehicles that were, to be honest, iconic, in my opinion, they never drew or never even imagined some of the things that the refreshes are doing to these vehicles. And it just doesn't look as good. It doesn't look as well thought out. It doesn't look as cohesive, even though I say that a lot, but it doesn't look that cohesive. And like I said, it just takes away from the intention of what the designer had in mind. And that's really disappointing for Kia, especially because Kia was, what made them different was the fact that they cared about the designer's intention. They needed their vehicles to look good for them to come back on top like they did. And they really used their designers in such a good way by letting them have free reign like they did. What set Kia apart for me was the fact that every single vehicle looked different. Around 2020, 2021, and 2022, every single Kia vehicle looked different than another model. The K5 didn't look the same as the Stinger. The Sorento didn't look at the same as the Telluride. They all had unique but luxurious and sporty special designs, and that's just what really made it feel authentic and made it feel special to have one of the models. You knew you weren't going to get the same screen as if you have a Telluride, you weren't going to get the same screen that was in the Sorrento. If you had a Sorrento, you weren't going to get the same screen that was in the Sportage. Now, if you look at the vehicles, they have the same front end, they have the same headlights, they have the same interior screen. It's just not giving. And let's take a look at the interiors for a second, because my point can be proven there too. Like I said, every single vehicle had a different design, especially on the interiors. And it wasn't just slight differences, but a completely different design. Not even many parts taken from other models, right? It showed that they didn't just take parts from other models to save money, they took the time to let the designer's vision shine through, which doesn't happen often anymore. Most brands, they just give you a vehicle that is optimized for usability, which is great, but what happened to actually letting a designer's vision happen? But let's look at the K8. The K8's interior looks not that different from the pre-refresh model, but they've taken the climate controls seen first on the Sportage and the steering wheel from the K4. And if you look at any of their other models now, the screen, climate controls, and other aspects have been thoughtlessly copied and pasted. Like I said, it all just feels so inauthentic. And, who am I to talk about Kia? But you might ask, why am I holding them to these crazy standards? And I feel like a lot of people can agree with me on this, is that Kia put themselves on that pedestal. They differentiated themselves from other brands when they started trying to redefine themselves like they did. They set themselves to these standards. They presented these amazing, unique, and value-packed vehicles, and they let that get to their head. And not in a bad way. I still think that they care about their customers in terms of what they're giving, but they've had they continue to have such a crazy effort to keep the same momentum that they've had, that they're letting themselves lose what set them apart in the first place, or at least what set them apart to me. And I mean, if you look at some of the comments on new refreshes, Kia design is still never bad, but I'm not the only one who thinks this. For example, the K5, Facebook groups and on YouTube, I've seen it. There are a lot of people that agree that they've kind of botched the K5. And to me, they really have. It just does not have that same badass feeling, But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me, or do you still enjoy Kia's styling choices? Let me know. With all these models, I'm going to say they could have kept it mostly the same and just done what needed to be done. You can always do a lot for a refresh, but don't go that far to where it takes away from what the vehicle was in the first place. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a good night.